Yeah.
Dude, like every Street Fighter game I've ever played, someone has complained about not being able to DP on Waco. And in 4, people complained about the input buffer. In 5, people complained about the input lag. In 6, people complained about the input reader. Like,
Yeah.
these are just fucking phantoms that people come up with because they're mad their DP didn't come out. They are different. Like, as Scott said, you have to work around them. But like,
Yeah.
These
like
are
Everybody.
all emotional
exactly.
responses.
Yeah.
It's
Most, yeah.
all emotional.
Hello, and welcome to the Absolute Guard podcast. We're a competitive fighting game community podcast examining history and current events from the lens of the Arizona grassroots scene.
Yes, welcome. This is episode 63. My name is Benny, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host John, who will soon be able to get a third Chun-Li costume. I feel like maybe he's feeling a little left out since he had so many to choose from in 5.
Did they announce a third one for her? I figured they
Uh,
would give me less because she had so many in
No,
5.
they mentioned they were gonna have a trailer release tomorrow and like notify me on YouTube kind of thing. So it's my understanding that they said they were done with costume 3, and I think they're gonna release one for everybody.
Oh,
They just
that would
haven't
be
shown. Yeah, they've shown I think a total of 9. It was like 8 characters, and then they recently showed like showed Jamie's, and
yeah.
then I think they're gonna show everybody else's in the trailer, and then who knows if it's gonna be like, all right, these are available tonight or whatever for
Ah,
Thanksgiving. I don't know. Hopefully soon.
I deliberately avoid asking about Chun-Li costumes because I feel like everyone's just gonna jump down my throat the moment I ask.
Well,
They're
yeah,
like, you had your time, you know?
yeah. You had so many choices last game. Like it was like every release there was a new Chen costume, and I was like, when do I get something?
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty nice. I would just be able to change wardrobe pretty freely. There were like 4 or 5 costumes that I liked, and there were people
Yeah,
who like had one, and it was the default one, you know?
yeah. So I mean, yeah, I mean it's November now. It's about basically about 5 months after the game released. Today on the show, we are bringing on Sabre AZ, aka Scott. He has not been on the show
What
since early
up?
early May, uh,
Yeah.
episode 39. I had to go look that up before we started, and yeah, man,
Yeah, it's
how's
been
it
a
going,
while.
Scott?
I'm doing good, and to add on to you guys, those costumes look really sexy. Holy crap. Soto's Soto's costumes look sick.
Yeah,
Maybe not the Ken one. I don't know about the Ken one.
I'm
He's
not
like a
feeling the
horse
Ken or the
jockey or
Gal
something like
one.
that. I
Yeah.
like the guy one. I like the guy one, but the Jamie one's sick.
Yeah,
The Marisa one is sick. They're really going in on Cammy Street Fighter animated movie with the trench coat. That's sick.
Yeah,
mm,
that's a good
Yeah,
one
dude.
too.
I'm looking forward to the rest.
I'm
yeah,
kind of worried because like with the jacket in particular, like all the cloth physics and stuff, you know, and when in 5 it was very noticeable when like Birdie's chains would clip through and stuff like that.
Right.
And
But they've been really good with clipping in this game. They like nothing's really clipping,
yeah.
where 5 they just gave no F's with the clipping. They just like let it go and like didn't care. I mean the
Yeah.
hair physics were all messed up. Everything was messed up in that game.
yeah,
It
for
just
sure.
reeked budget. And in this game, that's not a thing. So I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure, and considering how long it's taken for these costumes to come out, there's just probably more effort put in.
yeah.
you,
Well,
you
speaking
know,
speaking of expert, I was gonna say, do you guys think they're gonna put in like the button combinations to like alter the costumes like they did in 5? Like like if
Mm,
you held down a button, like you took off the jacket or you
yeah.
did this.
I mean, I hope they do. That was always fun, because some of the costumes are layered
Mm,
anyway. So
mhm.
like, why not just give that option? You know?
Yeah,
yeah,
usually those situations are like they're rendering less,
Mm-hmm.
like they're just taking something off usually,
yeah,
and so like there's really no extra CPU load there. It's Like that's an advantage that 3D models actually have over the 2D sprites, is that you can do stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I would be surprised if they didn't have that. I do think that you mentioned, Scott, that it's taken so long, and I feel like it's worth calling out still that the game's only been out for like
Yeah,
less than 6 months, right?
yeah, about
Or
6
around
months.
6 months. And so I feel like if they had released the costumes any earlier than now, then people would be mad and be like, "Oh, it's because you guys were working on this before launch." You know, like
Yeah.
a lot of Capcom in particular, I think, has gotten raked over the coals in public opinion before for releasing a game knowing that the DLC is like already done too, and they just want to release it
Disc
later.
locked content DLC.
Right.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
like you have to toe this like really weird line where it's like it's not it's coming out soon,
Right.
but that so interest is still in the game, but not so soon that you get accused of trying to double dip. Essentially.
I think the costumes were already done. Well, not like done at launch, but I think they've been done for like the past month or two. And I think they've been trying to figure out like when's the best time to do it. And now that this community is like really moaning about it, they're like, well, I guess this is the right time.
Even then though, like the community moaning about it, like it's a moving target, right? Because we just happened to digest this game faster than previous games. I think in 5
Yeah.
we didn't have new costumes for like the first year, and then 4
Did
was
we?
the same
Really?
deal. Yeah.
Was it like that? Yeah, it's just everything's moving so fast in this game. It feels like, okay, I understand that we had the betas and all
Mhm.
that stuff, for over a year. But even then, we had that with 5 as well. But it feels like we're so much later in this game cycle than we really are.
I think we've, as a community, we've digested it a lot more. There's more people, like there's more players, period, that are just breaking this game down nowadays, and there's more eyes on the games. So
Just
it's
getting easier
just
and easier to it just gets easier and easier to spread that wealth around,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
you
Yeah,
know.
when it comes to optimization and stuff like that, the tech that comes out, whether good or bad or broken, like we recently just had a patch for what Jamie's command grab, giving like infinite drive meter.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah,
Who
so
would
it's
have
just
thought Disney? Who would have thought Redizzies would have existed in this game?
yeah, yeah. But see, again, that's one of those things where it's like, in the past that would have been like a save this for nationals kind of thing, right? Like that would have been hilarious, right? Where it's just like, what? How come this is happening? But nowadays somebody's like, hey, look what I found, guys, and put it out on Twitter, and then it's just like, oh, this is broken. Then you have the big players like Jay Wong, saying, oh, I love playing Jamie now because of this, and then it
Yeah.
gets patched out, and
and
then
then
people are like, oh
and
man,
and then because of that, if they had to patch it out, will we be seeing more Jamies? Because right now he's practically doesn't exist.
yeah,
He doesn't exist in the tournament scene. He just doesn't.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's pretty
I
rough.
think he is one of the most absent characters in the whole game right now. Which I don't think God, man, he's not that bad.
well,
Yeah,
he's got the worst case of both worlds, where it's like you have to, like, I think people would be okay with playing a hard character if you got some reward for it, but if your character sucks too, then you might as well play an easy to play sucky character like Lily.
Yeah.
like if you've already resolved to
That's
playing a
fair.
character that sucks,
No,
then why play the
that's
harder one?
yeah, that's totally
yeah,
fair. It's like, why am I going to put all my effort and still like lose every matchup when I could
yeah,
put in little effort and have a one-dimensional game plan and not have to think about it and still be
Yeah,
bad? But at
because
least,
there's
yeah, I
benefits
get
to
it. I
playing
get
low
it.
tier, right? And that you can
Sure.
play a weird character and you can have a linear game plan that a lot of people just straight up aren't ready
Well,
for.
yeah, they're not right. Yeah, they don't know it.
So there's a
yeah,
benefit there. It's just that if you're gonna do that, then why? So like, the other thing is these level up characters, they never work. They never work in any game. Like any
yeah,
fighting game is like, it always takes like a couple iterations for them to get the right balance, because they have to balance the
yeah,
entire game as well as this individual mini game that he's playing now. And anything, they're either completely busted and they don't even need to level up at all, or
yeah.
they're like, he's designed to be shitty. Like he has to be like purposefully shitty at level 0, right? So they
Yeah.
purposely have to make a bad character. And
It's
sometimes they make him
really
too
hard.
bad.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
hard. I don't think I've ever seen an archetype where it just adds up being like, he's good. It's
Yeah.
either, oh my god, ban this character, or oh my god, delete this character.
Well,
Because he just doesn't exist.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, correct me if I'm wrong. When it came to G, wasn't G good to start, and then they had to nerf him, right?
No, G was terrible at first, and the only reason why, so then he got buffed, but then when he got buffed, they had to nerf him again because he was too strong. And the reason why he was so strong though is because it was V trigger, and his V trigger bypassed all that level up shit. It gave him full level immediately. So
okay.
by like you make the character complete by making him so he doesn't have to play that mini game at all. Like those characters just don't work.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. It didn't matter once he got his V trigger. All those things, you just throw it out the window. It didn't matter. And it, you know, that fell in line with the whole game, though. You know, in a lot of ways. So he became like all the other characters.
Yeah,
in that sense.
Well, the V trigger offset the weakness of the archetype.
Yeah.
Which is what V triggers were supposed to do, and that's what installs in level twos. I think in this game are meant to do that as well. Which Jamie
most level
twos
has.
Yeah.
There's some trash ones though. Or Ryu.
Yeah.
Ryu, Kimberly. Who is it? Ryu. I say Ryu, Kimberly. Yeah. And who else has a bad level 2?
Yeah,
there's one more I'm thinking of. I don't know. There's one more out there. I'm trying to think of.
There are some characters where their level 2 is bad, but it's only good because their level 1 is bad, like Lily, right? Lily's level 2 isn't really anything spectacular, but
there's another character.
It's her wake up option.
It's funny you bring that up because I can't even think of what her level 2 looks like.
She goes arise, and then she flies straight up, and it's a
big the tornado thing.
It's a big invincible tornado. It's her reversal.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I gotcha.
But yeah,
Melissa, same deal. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. So
she can still do 70. So she can still do 70% damage at that level 2. You know.
Marissa.
Yeah, I was watching when I was watching the CPT this weekend with Big Bird. He landed this crazy combo, and he didn't have enough for level 3, so he did a level 2, and it still did like 70. I was like, wow, crazy.
More to do with how you start your combo than how you.
I don't even want to know what it looked like if you did a level 3. That was like it was ridiculous. It looked like a level 3 combo. It was crazy. Anyway.
That's it. So I wanted to take it back because, like I said, we haven't talked to you since early May. Mm-hmm. So, Street Fighter 6 launched since then. So take us kind of through like your journey with 6. Like I know initially you started out playing Ken, and then how's your journey been with 6 and like the reason for like changing characters and things like that, or what are things that you've noticed as a seasoned veteran?
Well. Yeah, I mean, I did start with Ken. Ken's obviously he's okay. Just kidding. No, he's stupid. He's stupid good. Right. We knew he was good, but I don't know. There was I was in a phase when the game came out, and I'm like, we did the Twitch Rivals thing, and I was like, man, it felt weird just playing one of the beta characters. And
that's right. I forgot you were part of that.
Yeah, and I just like I remember I didn't switch because like that day one when the game came out, I had picked Dee Jay, went straight to ranked, just raw, and I think I won like 2 out of 10, and I went like silver, and I was like, how do I play this character? I didn't understand it, and I was like, this is no good for Twitch Rivals.
Yeah.
So I just stuck with Ken, and then after Twitch Rivals ended, then I was like, I'll play Dee Jay.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, Twitch Rivals was like a team-based, was it 5v5, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there was 8 teams? 8 teams?
Yeah.
Excuse me a sec. Hey, you might want to edit this out. I got a cough. Hold on a sec.
I wasn't going to edit that part out.
Anyway. So I didn't want to switch because I wanted like our team was disadvantaged. It was the old timers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't feel right. So I just stuck with Ken, and then after that I went Dee Jay, and then I had to grind them all the way to master. But I was playing both characters.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard with my limited time. So I just like, I'm just gonna drop Ken, went straight to DJ. That's been it.
Yeah.
DJ he's known to be kind of a difficult character, I think,
Mm,
and that like that's what everybody was saying out of the gates is that he's hard, and it's true that he's got a lot of different options,
Yeah.
but I was curious about like when do you think it started clicking after switching to DJ? Like, what was your on ramp time
mm.
looking like?
It took a while. Damn, my throat. I'm sorry. Hold on, guys.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. I'm still
No,
leaving
it's
this in.
okay.
That was too funny.
Oh man, Scott's over there holding it down.
It's a slippery
uh,
slope because at a certain point you're like, maybe I should edit out these stutters, like what I just did, and then you end up
yeah.
sounding like a jump cut machine, and it after a while I'm just like, I'm leaving everything in. Fuck it.
Ugh,
How's
dude,
everything
yeah.
crossfading?
I've been developing a cough, dude. It's been getting annoying. Anyway, so yeah, so I decided to stick with DJ, and just because it was getting too hard, I don't have a lot of time, so I was just like, I'm just gonna devote 100% DJ, and he's fun,
Yeah.
and he's a new character, right? And I liked what he was bringing. I thought the double fireball thing was unique. You know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
obviously the feints, and then of course the sway.
Yeah.
Everyone's favorite move.
That shit's so annoying, dude. It's just like
Everyone hates
I'm,
it.
I'm the type of person like, yeah, I'm always triggered by the movements. Like I want to react to things that I see. So when I see him go back, it's like I just instinctively want to just jab or do something, and then I get hit, and I'm just like, oh, it's just like
Yeah,
so
I
annoying.
think right now a lot of people just don't know how to handle it, and there's ways to handle it, but at the
Yeah,
same time, there's ways where he can work around it. But there are some
yeah,
characters I just can't use it.
yeah.
So let's say like Guile, I could do like cancel, like a normal cancel in the backsway, do nothing. He can still flash with me.
Oh,
Mm,
really? Okay,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
So things like
Oh
that,
my
I have
god.
to be really worried about. Man,
Yeah.
excuse me.
Yeah, one thing, um, early on in the game,
Ah,
so me and like the reason why Scott wasn't on the show since May is because his schedule changed. He was working AMs and then he started working at night again, and me and him work at the same place. And occasionally we'll get paired up and for our job. And early on, like I remember he had his Steam Deck, he had the game and stuff, and he was like, I'm driving for him. Literally, he's sitting in the back, and he's like going through stuff on his Steam Deck, saying, "Hey, I'm going to figure out how to deal with how you can deal with the sway for Sim."
yep. Yeah.
And he was in the lab, literally in the back of the we had a lab set up in this Ford Escape,
Yeah.
and he's in the back,
Yeah.
doing
Yeah. He
doing his
was,
work, and he's like
because he
figuring out
was,
stuff for me, and he's like, when I sway, you can crouch slide, and this blows up this every time, and he's like, and I could hear like everything kind of going through his head. He's just like, well, you can't do it against this, but
yeah.
it does work against this, and it was really kind of fascinating to kind of like, because I'm not really the type of person to kind of figure that kind of shit out, so to kind of like see what he was going through, he goes, yeah, this works every time, but I can delay it and then I can blow you up, so you got to
Yeah.
watch out for that. And it's like,
The
okay,
layers.
so
The
yeah,
layers.
there's layers to stuff, but like it's helped me in the matchup against people, because like there's a
Yeah.
lot of people that don't know that, and I interrupt
Hmm.
stuff and they're like, wait, what is he doing? And then I see them start spending bar to try to keep their pressure up, when it's just like, okay, you don't, now you're figuring stuff out on the fly.
And
Yeah.
now, and now, what I'm having to do is, because people are finding options. If I do any type of cancel into the backsway, um, they're finding those options that could stop most of the options that I do,
Mhm.
or they could drive impact. If they're fast enough. So what I
Yeah.
got to do now is I got to sit in neutral and just do raw backsway, so I can do it from further away and hit you on the
Uh,
tip of the kick, right? And
yeah.
that's where that move becomes a big problem for everybody. Just using it in raw neutral.
Yeah.
I stand outside of sweep range. I can get to where you can whiff any of your normals, and I clip you.
A lot of moves are like I think of what's it, suppressor from Luke as well. Any of those sway back moves, like short swing blow from Dudley, those kinds of moves.
Ugh.
That move gives me a
powerful for
problem.
that stuff.
That move gives me a problem. That backswing where he steps back like
Suppressor?
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that hits my sway a lot. No, I don't see enough people doing that. But
It's a very, very good. It's like any move that like pulls you back and then moves you forward automatically, as opposed to having to walk there.
yeah,
Like
I mean,
very, very
that's
good.
what made Luke so damn good in 5, right? Because of his movement on his normals.
Yeah, I would say that. Suppressor was dumb in that game for a lot of different reasons. But yeah, like that was one of them.
Yeah, it's just all those moves that where you can move and it moves you, it shifts your positioning is usually always pretty good.
I think one thing we take for granted though, because of this, just it's been the nature of this game, is that you know, like in older games, you would have a character and you'd find something like that, like a sway, and you'd run it through the lab and do the rock paper scissors thing and break down every counter option, right? But you'd always end up like in some scenarios you end up like in a dead end where like, oh, this person can do this option and this option and it beats every single permutation that I can possibly come up with, and that turns it from a strategy into a gimmick at that point, a knowledge check or anything like that. In 6, that doesn't seem to happen like ever. Like every time you come up with like some kind of offensive wheel of options, there's counters to it, but there's always like another step on the or another link in the chain, and you never really ever gimmick your like find something that completely gimmicks out. Like it's like, oh, it's useful in this situation, like that the delay sway thing, right? Like that could, the fact that he can delay it changes that so much now, where anything that could stop all 3 of the normal options, now you have to worry about the delay option as well, and he just keeps continuing the rotation. That's why, like with JP, I think a lot of people were thinking of that too at launch. Like, you know, JP, he's got a lot of crazy options, but they'll get figured out and reduced down to like a 50-50 or something, and that hasn't happened yet. I just think in general, this game you never hit a dead end. You're always like evolving the cycle in some way, shape, or form, and everything's useful.
Right.
Blows my mind.
It's great. You know, I feel like you could use like most of your kit.
Yeah.
You know, instead of devolving into just like 1 or 2 things and just using it.
Yeah.
You know, so I love that. That's what's great. You know,
it also addresses a problem that 4 had, which was like you could option select everything out. Those dead ends that I was talking about, those dead ends happen because you could option select like 5 different things.
You just
option they have.
Yeah, you just had your opponent dead to rights every time.
Right. And it turned into less of a game of like, am I going to pick the right option, and more of, can I do the right option, like execute it appropriately? Because those unblockables were kind of difficult to set up, and that's why people like went to the painstaking lengths that they did to like build out frame kill setups and all the stuff that we're doing now we take for granted.
Yep, and then it all end up like, I'll survive this round if my opponent screws it up.
Yep. Yeah, and that's never fun.
That's
not a fun fight.
Oh man, you talk about option selects, and that just takes me back to like annoying stuff I had to deal with like Ryu and stuff, like safe jump DP stuff that would like blow up my headbutts, and I'm just like, this is annoying. Like I can't even do like the reversal option that I'm supposed to have, because if they do the option select correctly, like it gets blown up every time, and I'm like, that freaking sucks.
Yeah, I'm so glad stuff like that doesn't exist right now. I mean, there's always like little option selects here and there, but nothing that's so like game defining.
Yeah,
which is great.
Yeah, when it shuts down like a lot of the stuff, like like you said, like it becomes no longer like, did I pick the right one? It's more like, can I continue to do this? And like, do you have a way to get out of this? And that's frustrating.
It still does get reduced down to like a rock, paper, scissors. Like you ultimately end up with 3 or 4 different options. It's just that those are like locked behind like a complex option select execution thing. Oh, in 4 I'm talking about. Or in 5 even. 5 had that same problem. It was like you had to, or rather 5 was criticized for being just, RPS over and over again if you're +2, right? And I feel like that's the case for every game nowadays, where if you can, like in this game, I also agree with the +2 thing. If you're +2 in this game and you're in throw range,
you're rotating options. You're rotating your options.
Yeah.
That's what you do. I mean, that's how a lot of games are, especially when you're trying to run run a mix-up game plan when you rushes someone down. You knock them down. That's what you're doing. All right, I got the knockdown. Let me rotate through my options and try to get that safe scenario again eventually. You know, it's just that it's just not concrete like 4. You know, and 5 and then even 6 has been pretty good with the OSs. They've been in check really well. I would say probably like the craziest OS we may have in 6 is like that people are probably not liking is blocking while hitting parry. You try to tap your parry like you're blocking. I'm holding down back, but I'm just gonna tap parry, and hopefully I can get like a perfect parry in there somewhere. I think that's probably the most egregious case right there, and I think that's what's probably. I mean, the obviously the biggest complaint right now by certain individuals in the FGC is like they hate perfect parry because they hate how it shifts. It's just momentum, and I think what exacerbates that problem is they got you in a block. They have you in a block pattern, and one of the block stuns like they're running their pattern, right? They're running their poke string, and then also they get perfect parried in the middle of it. Like John does, like John with Chung will do jab, jab, slight delay, jab, right? And then I ended up perfect parrying that delay jab, and then you're just like.
Oh, I know why too. It's because you want to drive rush at my ass. Like you're like, oh, the 2 jabs are done. It's time for me to attack. And then while doing so, you perfect parry my attempt at.
It could have parried right before I hit the dash. Yeah, I mean,
I see a lot of people try to drive rush at that timing, and they perfect parry my ass.
Yeah, and there's accidental parries because of that sometimes, and it was the same thing at third strike.
I was gonna say, like, how is that feedback any different though? Like the criticism any different than third strike? Like fundamentally, like if you're playing a game with a parry, that's what you're signing up for. Is that people are going to use the parry while you're attacking them. That's why it's there.
Man, the people that are complaining about it, I could tell, are usually the younger players that have only played 4, 5, and beyond, or whatever. And it's like, dude, if you really want to see how bad the parry gets, play third strike. And watch yourself die by getting hit with a stray jab.
Yep.
You just like, I hit jab, he parried me, here goes all my life. Just out of nowhere, or just or you just feel like you just can't hit anything. It's like it's not even that bad, to be honest. I think it's it's one of the most powerful tools, don't get me wrong, but I think it still strikes a really good balance. It keeps things exciting. There's still weaknesses to it, like throwing and whatnot, and then plus if they whiff the parry, then they're open to DI and stuff like that,
which is something that we haven't even really broken into until like the last couple months. Like there was a
right.
Like there's still counterplay that's developing for parry, and I think it's like the difference between tapping it and holding it, and people. I don't think that we talk that through enough. Like in that you can actually shimmy somebody and make them take the full 30 frames of recovery on the parry,
and a DI or something or whatever. Or you hit them on the
walk
recovery.
Up and throw them. You can throw them out of that recovery. Even.
And they'll still get a punch counter, and that's and that's still no joke, dude. That's a lot of damage on that punch counter throw. That's good damage. That's great damage, and you can't. And it's a hard knockdown.
Yeah, that's the kicker. Is we're playing a game with throw loops in it. So if you get a mid-screen throw loop, which is a punish counter forward throw, then that's godlike. Like you basically get to treat them as if they were in the corner. Mid-screen.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Something. Oh, I don't have a throw loop. I wish I had a throw loop.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, I have a mid-screen front throw loop.
Dude, you're like
one.
Yeah,
he does.
Forward, if you don't roll back.
Like, well, that's
of course.
Yeah, that's the kicker though. Is you force a rollback, and then then it just returns to neutral every time. But like a punish counter, you can't do that. So you got to take that throw loop. Unless you don't
take the mix.
One. Yeah.
Hey man, you're like, dude, Chun's like 2 pixels off from having a throw loop. And then from what I understand, even though the matchups probably don't happen that often, I guess like was it Geef and Honda and stuff, she actually does have the throw loop.
Blanca
because they're wider.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't care. You know what? I don't think it matters too much with Chun just because her jabs are so damn good and they reach far and they convert really well that you still create that mix.
Well, it's still
I
a
still
different
think
mix.
she could create.
It's a different.
It's
mix,
different.
man.
It is different. It is different. But she's still very effective on that knockdown after
Yeah.
that throw in the corner.
It
She's
is
so
objective.
effective.
She's objectively less effective because parry becomes more powerful if I can't.
Right.
physically,
No.
right?
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt
Yeah.
that. But you also have one of the fastest walk speeds in the game and all that stuff. And it still is a threat. It's just you have to work a little bit harder to push your offensive narrative than other characters.
Agree. Yeah. And
but you can't say that she's not still really powerful when she scores that knockdown in the corner, even off a throw. It's still a problem. It's just, the options maybe not as deadly.
Yeah. And I think it's offset by the damage that she does.
She does great damage.
Yeah. It's just the issue is that there are characters that do more damage than her and have the throw loop, and those are the ones that need to be touched.
Sure, but
Luke and JP.
But I also feel like Chun is a very, aside from the throw loop, I think she's a very complete and stable character.
Yeah. Oh, I think frankly she's in the best position for season 2, in that she is not drawing the heat that even Dee Jay is drawing now. So top 4, people are talking about top 4 now, and so arguably Chun is top 5. Arguably, I would actually put her up there, but she goes under the radar because she's considered hard to play, and there's also a degree of it's Chun. She's going to be good no matter what. Unless you completely remove her from the game, which they've done a couple times in other games.
I don't think the hard to play. I don't think the hard to play thing really matters, but I think it matters for now because the game's still early. It's like
it matters in perception.
Because
she's not hard to play fundamentally.
I mean, she's harder to use than most of the other characters because of the stance.
Relatively,
right?
Yes.
But it's like playing vanilla 4, right? Viper wasn't on anybody's radar because she's so hard to use. But then you get to Super, and then the perception starts changing because you're starting to because people are getting comfortable with their options and mastering the options, and now it starts to become a thing. So eventually the hard to use thing that will fall short eventually.
It does. You have to the character has to be sufficiently strong enough to be worth the work. And that's a delicate balance you have to strike. But Chun, I think, she relative to the rest of the cast, she is hard to play, but relative to other fighting games, she is not a difficult character to play.
Not that bad.
No. But because she has the perception of being difficult, they're going to be less likely to touch her, I think. And then also like she's not the social media pariah that everybody else ends up being because when she wins, because she takes effort,
but yeah,
it's all perception. It's not actually true.
You're right. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Just because you just go on Twitter now, it's like every other day, man. It's like we're rotating through a different character.
Yep.
This character's too good. Now this character's too good. Now this character's too good. And it's just because there's 2 DJs in Capcom Cup. He's too good. Oh my God. It's like, wow, 2. Okay, that's a lot. I mean, I'm wrong. It's just I'm not gonna downplay him. The character is really freaking good. Yeah. I just some people are trying to say he's top 2 now, and I'm like, guys, you guys are so flip floppy every week. Yeah. And these are the best players in the scene saying this. They're so flip floppy, and then the sheep all will follow suit and be like, yeah, see, he said it, therefore it's true.
Yep.
And then the next narrative, and it drives me nuts when I see this. And John, I think you remember this one tweet. I can't remember who made it. It may have been Bolt Strike or something like that. It's like, oh, you want an easy way to derp your way to 1900 MR? Just play CAD. And I'm like, it's not that easy. Are you kidding me? And it's just it's just everyone's trying to discredit people's skill. It drives me nuts, dude.
I got some
hate
thoughts
it.
on that. Yeah.
I just don't like the fact that people don't want to give anyone any credit, and it drives me nuts. Unless the character is ultra busted, okay, we play ST, and Benny, you don't play ST, but I bet if you pick the Kuma, you're going to give the best players a run for their money because he's that broken. then it becomes a carry. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
you're saying
I don't
relative to older games that like this, like the idea of carry doesn't really exist in this game.
I don't
Yeah.
think it
People
does,
are people are
man.
overreacting. Yeah, I think to
The overreactions and just everyone's just being melodramatic on everything, and it's just it's so stupid, dude. I don't like it at
So
all. I'm not a fan of. I'm just not a fan of downplaying someone's game because they use a character, or even worse, I hate it when people downplay a player because they play the character a certain way.
yeah. But no,
oh, we're
see
going
that's the
there.
That
thing
drives
too.
me nuts
Okay.
too.
Yeah,
That drives me
yeah.
Yeah.
nuts.
See, that's one of my big things too. Is just like there's certain characters. Like I mean, if you look in the Spiral series Discord, like I'm always complaining about Cammy, but it's like it's always just like it's more just kind of the way that she is as a character, and not necessarily like who plays her or how they play her. It's just that I just think she's really vanilla and she's like super way too effective for the kind of the way that she is. Like she's basic.
He's effective in her simplicity.
Yeah, and it's just like but and and when I play people online and like, she gives me hell. Like but I give like at the end of the day, if I lose, like, I know why I lost and I give credit to the player for what they've done. Right. Like that's been my biggest thing. And I think that's why for a lot of times, like I don't really get upset about losing so much. Like some people, like I see some people just get super pissed off about stuff. And I'm like, the character's good, but it's just like they're not that good, right? Give credit to the person that's piloting that character and beating you and making the right decisions.
And
But
even if it's a strategy where it's not the standard. Oh,
yeah,
this guy is playing super risky. This guy's a moron. He plays super
yeah,
risky. Like, well, that's his style. Oh, this guy doesn't play neutral. Like this guy sucks, but he's beating
yeah,
you. Who cares? That's his
exactly. No, yeah,
style.
yeah. That's the
That's his
thing. I was talking about that the other day in terms of like Zangief players and like flailing and throwing themselves at you, right? Like there's a lot of players that don't know how to just kind of walk and block, right? They're just kind of just jumping constantly, or they're trying to like just throw stuff out there, and it's just like for me, it's like if I'm the better player, I should be picking up on that, and then I should be punishing that, and then I should be winning. And
Yeah,
if I'm not, then I need to kind of like,
yeah,
I need to go watch that match again and see where I'm screwing up, and
yeah.
not just automatically discredit, the failing or their wild play style because
It's just
it's on
like
me to figure that out.
it's just like that one tweet you said that I said like just don't give him that energy. Is that guy and you went into his stream
Oh, Black
and then he was
Wolverine.
all yeah, dude. You were just like you played your game, and then he's like, I shouldn't be losing to this guy. It's just that smug, like elitist crap.
Yeah,
It's just like, dude, is your ego that big? And it's just like, I can't believe lost to this fucking guy, and it's like,
yeah,
why? Why?
I've got a couple of
Because
different
he's not a big
points
name?
here.
Is it
yeah,
because it's not his
exactly.
name's not his name it doesn't say F Champ or Mr.
Or
Crimson? Is that why? I
or
think that's
Akita.
why.
Yeah.
There's like if I'm not if I'm losing to this guy, this no name, who's using this character,
Hmm.
it's like, well then you suck.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. See, it's
Especially if you don't play like them. If you play a little
yeah.
bit different, you have your own style. They're like, well, this guy has to suck. He doesn't play like them, and it's
Yeah.
just it's annoying.
the best example of like the best story that I've got as far as like someone playing eclectically and then winning and then not getting any credit for it is y'all know what bullhorn is
Bullhorn.
from Street Fighter 5. There's
I
a
would.
in Capcom Cup one year there was this birdie player that just
Oh,
showed up out of nowhere and kicked the shit out of everybody, including Tokido, and he did it by doing trade bullhorn, and everyone was like, "This guy's getting hit on purpose, this fucking idiot!" And he wasn't Japanese, he wasn't in part of that crew or anything, and so a lot of people were just like, this person's not. They just lucked their way into winning Capcom Cup for Street Fighter 5. Um, they nerfed Birdie, uh, but that player had to like struggle through for a couple of years, but ultimately ended up being one of the best in the game. That was Mena RD. No one gave Mena RD any fucking credit when he won the first time. Talk to Abe because I was there when Abe told me this guy doesn't. He doesn't do any. All he does is he plays birdie and he bullhorns, and that's how he fucking won Capcom Cup, and that's how he beat Tokido. There's no way he would ever stand a chance against the top Japanese players. Fast forward 4 or 5 years to the end of Street Fighter V. We're not talking about 6 yet, but end of Street Fighter V. One of the few people, the only 2-time Capcom Cup champ, and one of the few people to be invited to play in the Topanga League with the best Japanese players. It started with nobody giving that guy any credit whatsoever. He's from the Dominican Republic, and nobody knew where the hell that was or what they could do with fighting games. So it's just like, if anything's unorthodox, people are going to automatically. If anybody shits on the Japanese,
if it's anything unorthodox and you're an unknown, it's like if Daigo came in and did the same strategy, you're like, oh, he's godlike, he's ridiculous, you know. And it's like Ume Shoryu. Oh my god, Ume Shoryu. But then regular Joe Schmo's over here, he's just DPing everything. You know, wake up and he's hitting it. I'm like, this random scrub just wake up DP every time. But then Kazunoko does it and wins the Capcom Cup. Well, that's all he did.
Oh, Kazunoko. Oh, yeah. Kazunoko plays like
he's a nut. He's a nut.
Yeah.
But you know what? But he won a Capcom Cup doing that. But if I did it, or someone like Benny, if you were doing that and he got any wins, people are like, "Fuck is up with this crap?" You know. And but since Kazunoko was doing it, it was okay.
He's got
like, oh, he did a wake up super and won. That's random. And then the big guy does it like, oh my god, that was the most ridiculous read ever because Daigo did it. And it's ridiculous.
It's actually like there's something really constructive there for like players that are of our level. Like at the grassroots level, we haven't like made it big on the national scene yet. You know, every now and then someone will peek in Arizona, and then our names will come up as some of the better players. But like fundamentally, I think a lot of people that are chasing that top player status or chasing that fame, so to speak, expect it to be like, oh, I will just go and win in a major, and then everybody will suddenly love me because I conquered the Japanese players or something. I wanted big. If I win, then people will like me, and that's not fucking true. It's not even. It's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
People hate your guts if you win.
Yeah, that's the complete opposite. Because then they're gonna be like, well, can you do it again? And they're looking for your consistency.
And they're like, oh, you're a fluke. And you're a fluke.
They want, so like, it's never, it's a consistent thing where they're going to consistently not like you if you win. And you have to keep earning respect over and over again. Like Brian F has a video about this too, where, you know, he's one of the main content influencers in the community, but like when he was first getting started, he never got credit for anything. And you could argue that some players that do get top player credit nowadays don't deserve it either. But that's the kicker, is that by winning you're not going to be popular by winning in this scene. People are there's more engagement and draw for content creation if you're a heel, or if people make a bad guy out of you.
There's more in terms of
like
got to
be a gimmick
toxicity. Toxicity, that kind of stuff, like really kind of rears its head when somebody, like Scott said, somebody unknown kind of comes out of nowhere, or you know, or with a character that, you know, they don't expect, or it's just not, you know, if it's not familiar, then, you know, you're gonna get
dismissed,
discredited. Discredited, dismissed. They're gonna call you out.
Dude, when I was playing under my other nickname, and then I would go in and I'd play some people, and then I would go into the discords that I'm in, and I would see some random trash talk, and they didn't know it was me. And these are people that are like that, they're cool with me and respect my game, but then I put on a different name, and then the attitude's completely different. You don't know it's me, and it's like I'm not playing any different. It's crazy to me. Like I played some of the guys in the US West server, they don't know it's me. And then I'll go in there, they're talking shit.
Trust me.
There's one. I'm not going to name names. I would beat him over and over again. He's a pretty good player, and I would beat him over and over again. We'd run into each other like 6 times one day in ranked, and I beat beat him all 6 sets,
Mhm.
and then he was just going there trying to beat this shitty player, this shitty DJ. I'm like, bro, I just beat you 6 sets.
Yeah.
To be fair, I say that too when I play him. I'm kidding.
And you know, and you know,
Shitty
I get
DJ.
it. I get it, man. People get salty. I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand. But you know, it's just at the end of the day, like it's just I don't know.
Yeah. So for those of you that are looking to play to be popular, winning doesn't make you popular.
Yeah.
But if it makes you more unpopular, like in
Yeah,
the US West Discord for Scott,
makes you.
but I you know, in the idea of like discrediting and stuff, it's phrased as such. Like when you guys were talking about it earlier, it was phrased as like this is a new occurrence, but like I remember Shoryuken forums being very different in that regard. And maybe I'm being a little contrarian here, but like people discrediting each other is not a new thing. I would
No,
also
it's not.
blame that
It's
on
not.
Twitter. Like that's
No,
on
not at
like
all.
there'd be
No,
a
it's not.
Shoryuken post every now and then hurting somebody's ego, like every
yeah.
in our thread alone, like once a week. You
Oh,
know,
for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For
Well, I mean,
sure.
you think about it. Like, I mean, that's the beginning of rivalries and money matches and trash talk and people calling each other out, right? Like, I think you're trash, John. Okay, prove it. You want to play first to 10 to $250? Like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess I will now because I put my I'm talking trash to you now, and I gotta man up, right?
yeah,
Like I can't
Which
back
I'm
down
cool with.
now.
Which
Yeah,
I'm
because I
cool
can't
with.
back
I'm
down now
okay.
because then everybody else is gonna, oh, you called him out, but you don't want to play him in a money match. Oh, well, I don't play for money. All right,
No,
well,
yeah,
do this.
I love those rivalries. Like right now, I see on like Twitter, like uh, who is it? Joe Umirogan versus Noah. They just keep going back
Oh,
and
yeah,
forth.
I've been seeing that. I didn't really know
They've been going back and
the origin
forth.
about that.
Yeah, they just been going. I don't know what started it, but obviously they both play Luke, and they all
Mm,
been kind of been battling in those top 4 spots. Between each other. Like one tournament, Noah does better. The other one, Joe does better, and then there's just trash talk going on in Twitter between them.
yeah,
I
yeah,
But
mean the other
they're
side
pushing
of it
each other
is
though.
there is like a monetary incentive nowadays to have that shit talking, even if you take it from like if you think of it in its like most pure form, like a boxing promoter kind of deal where
yeah,
like
yeah.
you want that trash talk to build the storyline.
Yeah, you
Like
need to heal. Yeah,
yeah, every like there's an extra layer of politics here that I think that's different than somebody writing a really mean post on Shoryuken. you know
yeah,
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 and you gotta have some thick skin, because if you don't, then like say like you're doing pretty good, right? But then everyone's criticizing you, saying like, "Oh, he plays like a moron," right?
yeah,
And then what happens? That person catches wind of all what everyone thinks about that person. Then all of a sudden, next tournament he goes to, he's like, "Man, I don't want them to think like I play like a moron." Then you end up not playing your game.
yeah. You
You
don't
end up
play. You
playing.
don't
You
play
end
your
up playing the
game.
way they expect you to play.
Yeah,
yeah
You and that's not good either.
Yeah, even to throw some shade at our local scene here, like Arizona, like since I've been in the scene, every top player, like undisputed number one top player in every game that I've played, they've caught shit from everybody. They've been involved in some kind of drama, some way, shape, or form, and it's usually like fueled by the anger of being the best, like of
hmm
like people not liking lose, like they don't like to lose to that person. The only
yeah,
person I could think of that maybe dodged that was Latif. Maybe everybody
mm,
else who has caught some shit from other people they've been discredited in some way, shape, or form. They've lost and then had people like cheering for them to lose. Like I
yeah,
can't think of a single top player in Arizona that has not had to experience that.
Yeah, even
uh,
even I would say like Latif, because he's been Evo Grand Finals, more than once. And then, but then I start thinking of other people, and I think of like Armando.
Yeah,
He got a
Armando
lot. He
caught
got
shit.
he got a
Yeah,
lot. He got, because he
yeah.
was a scrubby Wolverine player. He just plays like an
Well,
idiot.
Shuma, right?
Shuma. And it's just like, even though he got third place that first time, and then he was still getting discredited by some top players until he was able to do it again or whatever, and
mhm.
then it kind of went away eventually. But
Well, it's not just that it goes away. It's that the people that talk that shit are the ones that go away. It has nothing to do with like you never like I don't think there's ever going to be a light bulb moment where suddenly you have credit. It's just going to
Yeah,
be like there's always going to be somebody shitty out there that doesn't think that you're any good, and it's how much credence you give them. And they could very well be a top player and have a lot of pull, and that sucks.
I was speaking in this regard with in regards to top Marvel players.
Oh yeah,
they didn't give him respect for a while. It took a while. It took a while.
And I would argue that even then he might still not get respect from some players, and it's like Nemo doesn't respect Idazan. Like that's gonna happen. If you play a whack ass character, if you play a weird character, you play a character weirdly, like it's gonna it is what it is.
Feathers. So you kind of gotta have some thick skin, and you just gotta believe in what you're doing, and screw what everyone says. You have to.
Yep.
You have to.
Yeah, that's the FTC way.
You know what? People could be bitching about Dee Jay down, like, oh, that backsway's scrubby, but you know what? I'm just gonna fucking backsway more. I'm just gonna keep doing it.
Figure it out.
I'll take that counter hit and then take half your life every time.
Yep.
I'm cool with that.
The other thing is, like, say they're right and you are winning by gimmicks, right? And at that point, they will have to either lab to beat your gimmicks or they'll just keep losing to you. And like ideally, they will lab to beat your gimmicks, and then they'll expose your gimmicks, and then you'll have to improve as a player. So like it does actually end up working out. In the end, it's just it doesn't always have to be. I have to call you out for being a shitty player in order to make that happen. Instead, you could just sit in the back of a Ford Escape and lab out the scenario, right?
That's exactly what I'm saying, man. Just like, I mean, Scott,
you gotta figure it out.
You gotta figure it out. You can discredit it all you want, and it's just like, why is this player beating me, right? That's part of the game, right? Like, you have to guess correctly. You have to figure out their patterns. You got to figure out their habits and what do they like to do after this knockdown. Like, that's something that I've been evolving in my game lately, because like I've noticed that I was kind of I don't know what you would call it. I was going for the same things a lot of the times. And now that I'm understanding my options better, like I'm finding opportunities where I'm opening people up. Like, I used to just throw people all the time, right? Like, that was my thing. And then like I would mention that to you, and then I'd be like, but once they start teching, like I'm like, shit, what do I do now? But now that I've now I'm evolving to the point where it's like, all right, I threw you 2 times. Guess what I'm gonna do on this mix up? Oh, float. And I was like, then you see the whiff animation, and I was like, yeah, I got you this time, right?
Good, huh? Yeah.
And that's the stuff that's opening people up. And I'm just like, or the same thing. Like, I used to just crouch medium punch, drive rush throw. That was my thing. And then eventually it was just like, I'm starting to finally implement that back medium kick, which is fucking godlike in this game.
Yes,
and and it's catching people, because I'm just like, okay, the last 2 times I did this, I threw you in the corner. Now I get back medium kick in the level 3, and it's just like, oh shit, I didn't think that was coming. Right?
You feel like you're having a conversation with the other player a lot more now, right? Like, like you're starting to read what they do and get in their heads, and that's fun.
yeah. I mean, and it happens. It goes both ways. Like, the same thing. Like, play somebody that you figure out, oh, after they do this, they like the command grab, and it's just like, they did this to me 3 times in a row. Are they gonna do it again? Okay, yeah, they did it again. Let me punish it next time, right? And that's part of the game. I think that's why, like, when it comes to the kind of the Twitter discourse and stuff like that, that whole kind of skip neutral, and then now it's time to guess. And I'm like, that's always been a thing. Like, I've played Street Fighter 2, I've played Street Fighter 3, and I'm just like, I get discouraged playing Street Fighter 3, because I'm like, if they guess what I'm doing, like, I'm getting blown up on my Oki. I'm like, I don't understand Oki in that game really, but I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna go for this normal parry, and then like Scott said, my life is gone, and I'm just like, okay, so maybe I shouldn't like try to go for like a meaty, like, and I'm like thinking about all my decisions now, and I'm just like, but that's always been a thing.
Yeah, it's always
Street Fighter 2. Should I go for this? Oh, he just dragon punched the hell out of me. Like, okay, maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I should just walk and block. Oh, he threw me now. Like, that's fighting games for you. Like, so I don't know why it's been blown up more recently. Is this like driver skip neutral, and now you got to guess. And I'm like,
people just have these weird perceptions of what these games should be. And you just said that phrase that had my blood boiling. I cannot stand when people keep saying oh, this game you just skip neutral. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, first of all, I had to play neutral to get within that low forward range or whatever range I need
Yeah.
to be able to get in and attack you. I had to initiate into neutral first, right?
Yeah.
Or am I missing something?
No,
Yes,
you're right.
yes,
You're right.
yes, I
Yeah.
get it. Yes, I get it. DJ, jury, yeah, okay, they got like really fast drive rush and all that stuff, but still, it's like it can be stopped,
Yeah.
and especially DJs because his normals aren't that great. Like if I drive rush at the beginning, you just throw out like a medium, I'm gonna eat it.
Yeah.
Jury's a little different because she's got good cancelable normals so far, but I digress. But even then, I'm like, I look at all these matches, they're playing neutral all the fucking time. Like, what are we
Exactly.
talking about? Like, this
Yep.
is so stupid. It is so
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah, because like
It's just another. I feel like it's another way to just discredit the game or the players. This guy just skips neutral.
Because I always think of like the situation where like I played Dawson. If I misspace my normal from afar, right, it's easy to get whiff punished into like whatever, right? Whether it's like Cammy, Marissa, or anybody really could do like a normal and then drive rush in, right? And like my immediate thought isn't, oh man, they just whiff punished my normal and they're skipping neutral and they're in my face now. Like, no, I was like, I was dumb for fucking throwing that out at the wrong spacing. So that's my fault, and I got to deal with this.
I feel like skipping neutral, like the other side of it is that it's so easy to. The phrase neutral is so general.
It is. It's very broad.
It's like footsies, right? It's literally like semantically, it is actually, we use footsies and neutral interchangeably, but like it's that, and that nobody really has like everyone's got their own different definition of what neutral is,
Yeah.
And then so they can just use it as a crutch for whatever argument when they don't like something, like calling something fascist.
It's an OS. I'll use it as an OS.
Everybody says fascism now.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into that, but yeah.
Sorry, that was my first example of like, hey, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but I'm going to say something vague in order to criticize it because fundamentally I just don't like it. And that's what you complain about neutral. They don't actually know what neutral is. They just say that because that's the quick way to complain about something.
It's
like,
just a way. It's a way to soothe their ego for when they lose to something they didn't like. And I'm like, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do about it? Just get rid of drive rush? I think this game would be incredibly boring without it.
Yeah.
I don't think people make the connection between neutral game, like overbearing neutral game, and time overs. Time overs are what happens when you don't have neutral skip things, because then people just sit there paralyzed for 80 seconds, and then you're like, the game is boring. It needs more. It needs more offense. Defense is too strong, and then you're like, well, what about neutral? Cross-Tekken is my good example there.
Yeah, I had to
break neutral, or rather, Cross-Tekken had a way to return to neutral too much, and then that forward roll and just bad walk speed in general, like. And so because of that, you got time overs more often.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's
V reversal or the alpha counter problem in Cross-Tekken, like it was good for people that really actually enjoyed playing neutral, but the people that are complaining about that, like drive rush and 6, are not the same people.
Yeah.
And then the classic, everyone's like, well, I'm tired of it eating my inputs, and we need to get rid of that screen freeze. And that dude made that mod. I'm like, really? Yeah. That's what y'all want? Like, that's a game I wouldn't want to play.
Yeah.
People don't really know.
It's like you guys just have to figure out how to get around it, and it's just hold the button down or multitap. I like say like someone like does like low forward drive rush, and I got my charge rate, man. When I do my up kicks, I am spamming 3 kicks over and over again to make sure. And it comes out every time. It's just you have to. It's like this in every game. You have to work around the tools, the mechanics in your favor. It's not like other games never ate your inputs. They've always done it.
Yeah.
It's just that drive rush is a constant thing. It's happening all the time, so you feel the effects of it more. But it's just a way. It's just something you have to figure out how to get around, and it's just. I don't think there's a way to fix it.
Yeah.
Dude, like every Street Fighter game I've ever played, someone has complained about not being able to DP on Waco. And in 4, people complained about the input buffer. In 5, people complained about the input lag. In 6, people complained about the input reader. Like,
Yeah.
these are just fucking phantoms that people come up with because they're mad their DP didn't come out. They are different. Like, as Scott said, you have to work around them. But, like, a lot of these, like, in software development, when you're trying to gather requirements, the absolute worst thing someone can do is try to solve the problem for you. And instead they just say, I don't actually want you to solve the problem. I just want you to build this solution. They've already decided what they want. And like,
Yeah.
that's the danger here, is when people don't actually think through the solutions that they have in mind. They're like, oh, they just need to make the input reader better. Well, that could break a lot of shortcuts. That probably breaks modern continuity too. Or like, they want the screen freeze gone, and then like it's a monkey's paw, right? It's just it. Or remember at launch when everyone was like, they need to make Drive Impact more expensive, and how fucking stupid of an idea that would be. Like,
Yeah.
what that would do to the meter economy of the game. Or like maybe making drive reversal safe on block, and it's like, if you make drive reversal safe on block, you have the cross Tekken problem.
Yeah.
Like,
These are all emotional
exactly.
responses.
Yeah,
It's
most-
all
yeah.
emotional.
And you can break it down to like the input buffer in 4, input lag in 5, input reader in 6.
Now, I will say
those words don't mean anything. People are just
I will
making
say,
shit
though,
up.
I will say though, there was one piece of footage I saw. I was like, "Oh, okay, that's not good." Is that one footage that Sonic Soul put out where his Fierce Punch just never came out, but he went to his stream and his overlay clearly showed him hitting Fierce and it never came out, and he just did Super. He was trying to punch with a Fierce and then a Super, I think, and there was no drive rush or anything. He was going for a punish, and he just did Super. And so he's like, huh? And he goes to a stream because his stream is showing the overlay. And he goes back and looks at the VOD version of it, the replay, and the overlay showed him hitting Fierce and then doing the Super. But the Fierce never came out. I still wonder if there's. No, it didn't look like it, but it's hard to say because I don't know how well his game and his video is synced up, because you know how there's usually sync issues with audio and stuff like that. There could have been a sync issue. He may have done it too early, but that's the only time I've seen it where like, huh. But I still had questions, like stuff like that, but that's the only other time I've really been like, okay. Every other time it's always been like, okay, it's just a weird buffer.
But have you noticed that like everyone's complaining about the input reader in this game, and this game is coincidentally the game that lets you turn negative edge off, and people aren't really thinking that those two are related. My DPs aren't coming out like they used to come out. It must be the input reader. Maybe it's because you use negative edge, but you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I forgot to bring that up too. You're absolutely right. I think that's what it is. I think that's exactly what it is in a lot of instances.
Yeah. And to be fair, like nobody, I don't know if you guys have ever had that training partner that will tell you that they DP'd there, right? And then it clearly didn't come out. And you're like, I've gotten to the point where I've like actually called them out on that and be like, I don't think you DP'd there. Let's look at the replay afterwards. And most people don't want to take me up on that. They're just too mad. They want to go to the next game. And that's a sign that it's
in your mind you DP'd. In your mind you may have DP'd, but your muscle memory did.
It's the same thing, yeah. Like I tech that throw. Like, yeah, I may have pressed the buttons, but I was probably late. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's like a natural response. Like I know I've said that plenty of times. Like I tech there, but it's like I probably, if I looked at the replay in slow motion, it was probably like they probably already threw me, and then you could probably see me pressing the buttons like that half second later, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, I did think I tech there, but I didn't do it in time. Right?
I got on a soapbox a couple episodes ago about determinism. And like what a fighting game as a system, if you input the same amount of inputs and at the exact same times, the result will always be the same. It's not an RNG generated thing. And so like Benny, as you said, if you teched, right? You said you teched, but maybe you teched late. If you teched at that exact same timing, you still wouldn't have teched the throw. Like if you did it again, rather, if like the same thing happened, same situation, the hitboxes were aligned the exact same way, and you teched in that same timing, the tech wouldn't happen. Like no matter what, it's always on you.
Well, not exactly.
Yeah,
Not exactly, because it depends on how much input lag there is. So say if something's got 2.5 frames of lag, right?
sure.
So you have that 0.5. The game only measures in full frames, right? 1 through 60, right?
Okay,
But you have
I
a
see what you're
game
saying.
that's like 2.5 frames. So if you have that, let's just say definitively there's an extra half frame of lag, right? To make that 2.5 frames. That half
Sure.
frame, so that means every 60 frames per second, you have a 50% chance of that input hitting on the next frame.
But that's different than the game interpreting it differently.
Right. The game's
that
not going to
is
interpret it different. Right.
like that is still like fundamentally like you could theoretically move your input up one frame and it would be a consistent one, right? Like that is a
I
narrow
guess
window.
I guess I would only be
Yeah.
speaking on something that feels like something that was like frame perfect and then like it missed, but it's probably because that input got carried over to the next frame. But then the
Yeah.
next time you did it with the exact same timing, it might work because that way that half frame is. Sometimes it'll fall on that current frame. Sometimes it'll get pulled onto the next frame.
Yeah, but that I get what you're saying, like,
it's
if
still
they
going
do
to
it at the
execute it.
exact same
But it's
time.
going to
Yeah.
execute it. It's going to execute it every time. But you know, I'm just that was
Yeah, you're
my
saying
disclaimer.
it's not a coin flip. It is that if there's any variance in timing, then the timing will be different, which is
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
Yeah.
It is. If it's like to
But
the
that's
frame
not
timing,
that's
it
a
is a
coin
coin
flip
flip.
thing.
Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Sure.
Technical jargon.
Yes. Yeah. Well, fundamentally, like I was trying to get to the message of, we are fundamentally responsible for what we put into this game. And so if our inputs are sloppy, we can't just say that the game heard me wrong. Like it needs to be like there's always something that you can control because fundamentally the game doesn't play itself. You're the one that feeds inputs into the game.
Yeah.
And that's actually like I think that's good from a philosophical standpoint as far as like getting better and taking accountability for your losses and your wins.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely been times where I thought I supered or I was like, I wanted the super there. But usually, like, yeah, when it comes to that, like, that's my phrasing is like,
Yeah.
I wanted super there, not, or I did super there. Like, those are two different kind of statements. Like, I wanted to do this, but it didn't come out. Now, am I necessarily blaming the game? No, that's what I wanted to happen. Versus,
I've lost
I did
tournament
super.
matches.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've lost tournament matches because a DP didn't come out. But then like my first thinking there is not that I DP'd. It was how did I fuck that up somehow?
Yeah, I mean, it was
That's
like
a more
that.
constructive way.
It was like that the tournament I was playing Thrasher, and I would have been up 2-0 or 2-1, and I landed the winning hit, and then instead of doing EX backsway, I ended up doing EX criminal upper or machine gun upper, and it cost me the game. And then the first thing I don't know if it shows off on the stream. I was like, God damn it, like I was like, I said I didn't do that, and in my mind, obviously, I didn't do that, but my hands clearly screwed up.
Yeah, like the game isn't
And
going
then I
to
was like-
misinterpret a quarter
and
circle
then-
back as a quarter circle
So
forward, right?
So then I went. Well, they're both quarter circle back, but
Okay.
yeah. It was just I hit punches instead of kicks, so my hands screwed up, and it was like I was like I didn't do that, and then I was like, God, and in my head, I'm like, man, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
I can't believe I did that. I was in the moment, but I know deep down, obviously, that I screwed that up, and I got to clean that up.
Like that
I
was
have
on
to
you.
clean that up.
Yeah.
It wasn't the game; it was me.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just all there is to it.
Yeah, I've been notorious for that. Get somebody stunned in the corner. I was like, I'm gonna level 3, and what comes out? Short. Like what? Or just a regular arch fireball comes out, and I was like, oh, okay, I didn't do the other quarter circle, right? Or I pressed the button too early. Like that's all on me. Like at the end of the day, like I got
The other thing too is that you have to work within the confines of the system, right? You have to figure out ways to become more consistent. The biggest problem I had all the time is when I was doing like a crouch combo and with crouch jabs or whatever, and then I want to end it with the medium sobot kick, and then half the time I get the medium up kicks because I would touch up forward, it'll do down up. So now what I've started to do when I do certain combos, I let go of the stick to go to neutral to kill my charge to make sure it never comes out. So I had to learn how to do that to stop it from coming out as much.
I think it's way easier just to complain about the input buffer.
You know.
These new games and their input buffers back in my day, I
or the
wouldn't get
move
accidental
priority.
supers.
Yeah.
Well, I think in this case it'd be move priority.
Oh my god! If we start talking about priority,
Yeah, let's not. But
oh
yeah,
my god,
you know,
no, dude. That's funny. It's fun. It'd be a fun topic for me to talk about because priority is something that I think people do not fucking understand.
Mhm.
Fighting games. It's an overloaded word.
Yeah. But you know, I with all that said though, man, it's just like, you know, the honeymoon phase is over, and it's just like, man, it's just like the crap the game's getting now, and
Mhm.
like, I don't know, man. I think the game's still fantastic.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
see. I'll give credit
I
to
love
some
this game.
people because like I've said it numerous times. Like I'm having fun. Like I'm constantly seeing improvement in how I play, and that's what I'm looking for personally. Like I'm not trying to get legend ranked and all this other stuff because that floor has really increased with phase 2 now. But what was I thinking of? I was gonna say I want to give credit to some people. Like I don't remember their Twitter names, but I have seen some people actually go put out there like, I don't like Street Fighter 6 in its current iteration. I think it'll be a good game later on. Like
Eventually,
they have a great foundation, but this version isn't for me. Like I've seen
and that's
a couple
fine,
of
and that's
tweets like
fine.
that, and
Yeah, that's fine.
that's what I want to see. Like I understand people are going to be upset with certain things or they're not going to like certain things, and that's fine, but it's just like to constantly spread this kind of negativity. Like I've basically got to the point where I kind of just drone it out and I just keep scrolling. Before I would look at the replies and just see what people would say, and nowadays I'm just kind of scrolling through it. And like I do got to give credit to some of the people that I've seen where they're just like, this isn't for me, like I'm going to go play something else. And that's what you should do. Like I mean, there's
Stop playing the game,
there's room for criticism, but at the same time, it's just like, what good are you doing complaining about it and
and then
just
you
kind
keep
of
playing, and then you keep
stewing in
playing anyway.
negativity? Yeah, and stewing in this negativity and this
Well,
toxicity and all this stuff.
to be fair, that's the angle I took in Street Fighter V Season 2, and I said, well, if you don't like it, stop fucking playing it. And then everybody stopped playing it. So be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
But the other side of it is like, how do you even come to that conclusion, right? Because when you decide you don't like the game, it's because something that you don't like.
Problem to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Not just that, but it might be the strongest thing in the game. If I said I didn't like TAC Infinites in Marvel and I was against TAC Infinites as a philosophical thing, then I would not be able to play Marvel 3, right? Because that game is riddled with that. But we didn't know that TAC Infinites were a thing until 2 to 3 years after the game came out. And so fundamentally, like the game that we're playing right now, that we're the shit that we're seeing all the time, it might be different in like 3 months. Like what we see all the time. So it's really difficult to be like, this game isn't for me because X, Y, and Z, because Drive Rush is too powerful. Or like if someone said, because a lot of people were like, I don't want to play this game because Drive Impact slows the game down too much. And that was like month 1, right? And then nowadays, no one really gives a shit about that anymore. But if I had just like, it's almost like an arrogant stance. You're assuming that DI is going to be the end all be all mechanic. You assume that you figured the game out.
100%, right?
We haven't yet. Like
we haven't.
Like everyone was mad about parry for a little bit, right? But we haven't figured out how to beat we haven't figured out how to beat parry yet, and we're slowly starting to come up with that. But it's taking time. So it's really difficult to be like, how can you look at this game as a static thing and be like, this package as a whole, I don't like it because it's not done yet.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up the TAC Infinites because like that was actually kind of like the pivot point for me with Marvel is like, but the difference was like I didn't choose to not play the game anymore. It's just I just chose like that was the kind of the stopping point for me in terms of like where I wanted to get better. Like I still had a lot of fun playing that game, but I didn't want to learn TAC Infinites. I didn't want to play the characters that had those. Like I was playing Hulk, Storm, Sentinel. Like I don't know if I don't think any of those characters had that, but I didn't want to resort to playing the other characters. And I could have easily just been like, you know what? I don't like this game. I'm just gonna stop playing. But I was like, I have fun playing this game, and I'm just gonna be okay with not learning that aspect of the game and be okay with losing to that aspect of the game And that's not a stance that a lot of people would have taken. Like a lot of people would have been like, "This is bullshit," and I was just like, "Yeah." And like more Doom was kind of bullshit too, and like a lot of characters couldn't deal with it. But at the end of the day, like either you're willing to try to figure it out, or you know, stop playing, or whatever.
Deal with it.
Stuff
And
Yeah,
that
just
or deal.
powerful, yeah, stuff that powerful defines what the game is. Like More Doom
Yeah,
is like the backbone of Marvel in a lot of ways.
yeah,
Virgil, like
Virgil,
every team in that game is like comprised of Doom or Virgil in some way, shape, or form.
definitive
yeah,
shells.
And
yeah.
so,
I think
you have to accept the game for what it is.
You
Then
have to
and
accept it. You have to accept it.
good.
It's like I've had to deal with it in Alpha 3. It has infinites. We have to accept it.
Mhm.
You
yeah,
know, it is a blemish on the game, on an otherwise still very fun game. But unfortunately it has that one blemish. Is what
And
it is.
we have examples of games that like Benny, like Killer Instinct is mine, where I'm like, I decided I didn't want to play a game with combo breakers anymore.
Yeah, because
And
you got tired of punishing people and getting combo broken.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
that. It was like,
Which
I
is
think
fair. Which is fair.
it was I think it was Killer Kai who said it's like playing a game of basketball where every time you get a dunk, you have to shoot a free throw to see if it counts. And I'm like,
hey,
yeah, that's about right.
yeah. That's a fair comparison. Yeah, that's a perfect comparison, actually.
But
Yeah,
the mind games, Benny, the mind games.
yeah.
That's what Steve would always tell me. The
Yeah,
mind
that's
games.
funny. That's funny. So, like, let me ask. I know it's a loaded question and all that stuff, but do you guys think anything should change mechanics wise when season 2 hits?
I'd like me personally, like I'm kind of in that boat where John says, like, I'm kind of unsure what should change right now
Yeah,
because, like, everything's so intricately tied together. Like,
yeah,
the
I
meter
agree.
economy is like a big thing, right? Like, if you change how much DI costs, like, you want to make it 3 bars, okay, that's half of your drive meter to start, right? That's a big deal. If you want to make drive reversal safe, right? And then you have that's adding another defensive mechanic that again is resetting people to neutral more often. Whereas right now, like yeah, it's punishable and you don't see it a ton, but yeah, it's like I don't know if I'm the right person to even like kind of talk about that. Like I don't even know where to start really. Like I'm I don't know. I'm figuring out ways to deal with stuff. So like I used to let people drive rush in for free all the time. Like like Jamie or whatever, right? Like I played a bunch of Jamies this morning, and like my thing now is like I needed to stop doing heavy buttons or even medium buttons. I needed to do like his stand short, and I'm catching him like every time. And it's just like, oh, now the game plan changes, right? Because he's trying to drive rush, and I'm kicking him in the shins, and he's just like, oh, I can't just get in for free. Then then the game opens up. So I'm finding ways to kind of like deal with stuff like that, and it's just like I don't even know where to begin in terms of changing stuff without potentially like breaking the game.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
definitely like a House of Cards feeling.
Yeah,
But
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I think I think it's going to be less about the pursuit of ultimate balance and more about, because the other side of it is if they don't change enough, then this game's dead after a couple of years, because people like,
mhm,
you got to have, it has to be different enough for people to want to come back, and to do that it has to fix, quote unquote, fix some of the problems that were perceived about the game. And so every time I've seen them add a new mechanic, it's been extra late in the game's lifespan because they take that long to figure out what is an accepted problem in the game.
yeah,
And so like vortexes and hard knockdowns and red focus and whatnot, like in 4, that came in Ultra. And then in 5, they added B shift in the last season, which drastically changed the game and actually alienated a couple of players. So like, I think that it won't be an issue of is this good or is this bad. It will be, is this the same or is this different? And in doing so,
mm,
they're gonna take that stance. And so I think they're gonna add a new mechanic, maybe tweak a couple mechanics which will then flip the tiers completely, and then they're gonna tune the characters individually to accommodate the new changes in the system. But I think they start with a big system change, and not necessarily to fix a problem because we're only 1 year in, but just to throw something at the dartboard and see what sticks, and then maybe change the game up for people to be like, I want to play season 2 and buy the season pass.
uh,
So So I could think of maybe two things they could do. Now, if they don't do it, I'm still fine. I don't care. But I'd say if there was like two things they could probably do, and it probably wouldn't upset anyone, is I would say maybe make drive reversal not -8.
It's -6.
Or is -6?
No, it's
What was I
-8. It's
saying?
-8.
That's -8. Yeah.
It's -8.
That's pretty. That's pretty heavy. That's pretty heavy, I think. Considering its functionality is very limited anyway.
Yeah.
I'm looking
I'm
at
not
cost
saying-
checking, but like
I'm not saying no. I'm not
in
saying it
alpha.
needs to be safe. I'm not saying it needs to be safe.
right.
I think 8's a little too heavy. I
What
think
if they expanded
about
like
6?
what if they expanded like the hitbox so like that you could like push somebody away from like a neutral jump, almost make it like a burst, like so still make it unsafe, but just make it deal with different situations better. Because like I've seen that a lot. Like I've got blown up by that where like somebody's pressuring me and they're like he's gonna reversal and like yeah you could easily block, but I've seen people neutral jump and I like reversal anyway, and yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I never really thought about that, but I think maybe if you made it like -5 or 6 and just make it not as crazy, I don't know. But I think the other thing too, I was thinking of, and since everyone bitches about perfect parry, I would say, well, I guess there's two things you could probably say about parries. I mean, they could go the route of if you want to parry, you have to be in neutral. So it makes it riskier to use. But I don't know if I like that with the way this game's built. I just thought about that just now. But the big thing is if they really want to, maybe if they feel like perfect parries are too good, reduce it to 1 frame. Make it a frame perfect.
Yeah.
Make it frame perfect.
Lean into the random.
It's I mean, but that's the complaint everyone already has, is that they feel it's too random. And then but the thing is though, it's still gonna be random, but it's gonna be less likely.
Well, how do you feel about the change of like I've seen people talk about like making it choose high low, like making you have to commit to that. So like if
Man,
I
how do
think
you
you're gonna
do
low,
that?
yeah, if you're gonna low forward,
I mean, you could do
Let's-
that. Like Soul Calibur does that. Tekken does
Yeah,
that.
I
Not
mean,
Tekken, but Soul
yeah,
Calibur
you
does
hold
it.
back. You can hold back if you want to do the high, then down, do the low or down back.
Yeah.
You could, but I think that man, that might complicate it way too much. I think I think it's too much.
I think they're going to
Yeah.
touch throw loops. I think that's like if we're talking about like likelihood of what they would actually change and stuff that people are complaining
Like
about.
in what way? In what way? Like
I
what do you
think-
think they would do?
So the argument is like they shouldn't remove throw loops because of parry and all this other stuff. We've talked that. Ad
Oh,
nauseam
you
on
think
this
you
show,
think
right?
you think drive loop or drive rush is required to
No,
do it?
I think they start by saying we're gonna remove throw loops, and then they change the system entirely around that. And I think that like I don't think it's going to be a simple like tweak and be like, oh, just make it cost more, or make them have to drive rush, make them have to invest time and all this other stuff. But it's going to be like we're going to take away throw loops, and so now we need to find a replacement to hurt. We need to nerf parry somehow because parry becomes too strong without throw loops. But fundamentally, people don't think throw loops are fun. Like to get hit by them, it sucks.
Yeah.
And it's not fun to watch. It's not fun to watch.
It's not fun
either.
to watch either. So that is a core like problem with the game, but that's not necessarily like, hey, you're being a scrub and you haven't figured out throw loops yet. It's like this is something that is like it's at like there's not much, you can't go much deeper than meaty throw really. Like there's not a lot more exploration there. It has to be around like evolving around parry and figuring out like how to punish parry better in order to make throw loops less powerful. And if you do that, then you can remove them altogether. I think that's what they do is they make they change the drive system with the goal of removing throw loops or changing them. They might do what you say and say everybody requires 1 meter to do a throw loop, but that also has some extreme ramifications if they do the other thing that people are suggesting, which is like make drive rush punish counterable on interrupt on startup. I like because right now if someone drive rushes at you and you hit them out of it, you check the drive rush, you get a counter hit. But people are saying I want to punish counter instead. Yeah. Which by and large most players are like, yeah, that's pretty fair.
I think I honestly don't have a problem with that because it's I mean, I do, but I don't. I don't know, man. I'd have to see it in action, man. It's so hard
Yeah.
to just visualize. It's just because you don't want it. Here's the problem: people have a lot of issue with drive rush, right? Because people can skip neutral with it, and but the thing is, though, drive rush is what helps make this game very exciting,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I think that's a really important aspect of this game.
Oh, well, the other thing you think about, like you talked about punish countering the drivers, checking the drivers, right? As of right now, that costs a meter too, right? Like that takes a meter away from you. So like, do you adjust that as well with
Bingo.
the
That's the
punish
problem.
counters? Yeah,
Mhm.
because
Like
again,
if you
like I said, it affects the meter economy, right?
like say you drive rush like randomly after a fireball, and then Ken just decides he wants to hit fierce.
Yeah,
And
Which
so right now
happens. Which
it happens.
happens.
But now
It
he gets a
doesn't.
punish counter on it, so you
Yeah, yeah.
lose
No, that's fair.
like 2.5 drive bars, and then he
And
can
not
combo into DI off of that and take
and not only
like
that, and not only
half your
that,
bar.
if you watch, people are getting better and better at checking drive
Yeah.
rushes. They are
Mhm.
getting better at it. Obviously, it's still difficult because you have to really think about the character you played against and the range they do their drive rush at. Because if they're too far and you want to check it with a jab, you may do the jab too early.
Mhm.
But if they're too close and you're like you do a medium, now you're too slow. Obviously, there's a lot of nuance to that, right? But I think by watching like especially top players, they're starting to check them a lot more
Hmm.
in a lot of different scenarios. And yeah, that could lead to a little too much craziness. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
I like drive rush where it's at, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it kind of goes back to that discussion before with like perfect parry, and people are like, "Well, it doesn't do a lot of damage," and I was like, "Well, if you want it to do a
Yeah.
lot of damage, then that's a
Bro,
whole nother thing. You
bro.
a whole
When
nother
I
can of
when
worms."
I when, John, like before Secret Labs 3, when we went to DGZ on that Friday, and
Yeah.
remember Roy was there, right? And he doesn't know anything about the game. He's a third strike player, one
Oh
of our little
yeah.
third strike players. And then he's like, "So Perfect Parries does like half damage?" He's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Ooh." I'm like, "No, dude." And I'm like, no one wants to get hit with random 100%, dude. It's just,
Unless you play
I know
third
it's
strike.
part of, I know it's part of Third Strike and it's part of the charm, and you love that game, but you have to admit that's not good game design.
Yeah.
And if Neo G knew that stuff when they were developing Third Strike specifically, they would have not let that slide. Absolutely not.
You know what
There's no way.
the greatest achievement that Six has accomplished in my mind is that if you go to like the Evo Moment 37 YouTube comments or any like general Street Fighter YouTube video and you look at the comments, there's always that casual group of players being like, I wish we would go back to 2D models and third strike. I wish they would bring back parry. And Capcom managed to satisfy those people without breaking the entire fucking game and making third strike again, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, and the people that are complaining about like punk and all that, and I get it, they're frustrated with it, but like, go play Third Strike and come back and tell me how bad this mechanic really is
Yeah.
after playing that game. And it's just like, because there's going to be some guys that's going to make it feel like you just can't attack at all.
That's exactly what I was mentioning earlier,
Why
man.
try to DP and try to anti-air in that game and get blown up. Try to do a
Yep.
lot of things to get blown up. It's like it's just like everything that you know of is just thrown out the window because of the power of that parry. Yes, there's more risk involved because you have to press forward and all that, but it's just the reward is great. The risk is still great. Don't get me wrong, but man, it's there's a reason why there's so much love and hate towards that game and that
Yeah.
mechanic. There's a specific reason why, but to be fair, that mechanic is also from a spectator perspective is infinitely the most hype mechanic of all time.
So they were able to capture that while still making it fair. I think that's a win. Perfect
Well,
parry's
no,
pretty hype.
I think no. I'm talking about Third Strike's parry. It's
Sure,
still the
yeah.
hypest thing ever. Six's parry not nearly as hype as that, but it still brings that hype. It does bring that hype, especially when you're down to like pixels and you're
Right.
about to be out of drive and they got half life, and then you clutch it out with that perfect parry. That's still hype.
It's
Yep.
less
still
hype
hype.
because it's fair, though. That's my point. Is that
Yeah,
the
sure.
reason why Third Strike hype is probably the reason why it's probably more hype is because you can fucking die off that parry.
Yeah,
So,
I could be
right?
fighting Makoto using the
That-
Kuma, and
that's what I was saying, Makoto.
I'm working on my perfect,
Yeah.
and I got you cornered, and I'm mixing you. I got you to throw loops. I'm doing all this stuff, and then I decided to do like a crouch. I'm going to go low instead with crouch short, and then you down parry, and then you land your Kakusa, and then 100%. I'm dead in 5 seconds.
Yep.
So how do you take a mechanic that is essentially anti-competitive and make it competitive? And I think 6 is the balance.
I think 6 does it really well. I think
Yeah.
it does it so well. I think people just they just haven't experienced how bad it really could be.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
'cause
I
remember,
think
like,
I
that was
love it.
that was one of the big sticking points when we talked to you. You know, like I said at the beginning of the show, we talked to you early May. That was before this game launched, and that I remember in some of those episodes, like that was your big thing was when we talked about parry, and you were like, you know, they don't want to make another Third Strike, and people don't, you know,
And people
that
thought I was crazy when I said
yeah,
that. People thought I was
yep,
crazy that it doesn't do enough damage. I was like, no,
yeah, you
it's
don't want
just
that,
right. It's just right.
I mean, Roy
you
wants
know,
another Third Strike.
yeah.
Ty wants another Third Strike.
Yeah, sure.
There's a group
I
of
mean,
people out there that really like
Yeah,
that game.
you know what? That you're talking
Yeah.
about that guy that did the mod right to the input reader. Somebody
Yeah.
needs to go make the mod right and adjust the damage for perfect parry, and then see how that plays out. You'll be dead in like 2 interactions with like every character now with the
mhm.
way the game works.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think everything is done really well. But I also wouldn't be opposed if like they just toned Perfect Parry down to 1 frame. I mean, maybe there's something I'm missing in there, which I very well could. But I figure like if you tone it down to 1 frame, it might be a little harder to get them almost automatically when you turnstile when you're -2 in scenarios, and you're like, he blocked my -2. Let me just parry on my recovery, or something like that. And then like I'll land my perfect parry. Like when I do my backsway and I'm -2, and I'm like, I'll just perfect parry. But then when people get privy to that, they're like, well, now I'm just gonna block it and throw. And then I lose. Then I lose my 2,500 damage.
The other thing is that like we're looking at it from the lens of traditional fighting game players, where it's like, what if we tweak this frame here? What if we make this a counter hit state or a punish counter state? But like in this game, everything has a cost, which is pretty new, I think, to a lot of fighting games. And so they could change something as minuscule as, you build a little bit less drive over or during your recovery, or your normals generate less. They take away less drive on block or something like that, and that could change the entire meter economy of the game and make drive rushes happen less often. And then that's a passive nerf in a way. Like they could take that angle too, where they could just change nothing and then just change the numbers, and that's it.
There's another thing I forgot to bring up, and I've seen people talk about it a little bit. It hasn't been a huge, and we've talked about this during the beta at one point. Some people feel like there needs to be more usage towards the super meter, like more ways to use it. Some people think. Remember when the beta first came out, and like I was like, man, they should put OD moves tied to the super meter instead of the drive. But now I'm like, now I don't think that way.
Yeah.
But yeah. That was during first beta when we first touched the game,
Yeah.
Yeah, we were thinking about that stuff, and I was definitely clearly wrong. I felt I was wrong on that. But some people were thinking like, because now you just sit until you get level 3, and level 3 is so good.
That's not
I'm
true.
like, I don't think that's true at all.
Yeah,
because most people's level 2s and level 1s have uses. Like, I mean, I look at JP, I look at Blanca, they have like the best level 2s in the game.
But those were the ones that took longer to understand. That's the kicker, is that it's a function of time, where everyone's going for level 3s because they wanted to do the biggest combo that they could practice in training mode.
Yeah, I mean, I use DJ. I use my level 3. I run the risk of being defenseless because I got to go to level 2 to get defense.
Yeah, there's checkmate scenarios that DJ has because if he doesn't have that, but we don't take that into account when we're posting on Twitter.
Yeah, I don't. I was like, I don't know what they could do to tie more mechanics into the super meter.
Yeah, I don't. Making OD meter or like making EX moves tied to super like that strikes me as just a like make the game like the old games.
Yeah,
request.
Maybe they could do something like you're about to burn out or you are burnt out. You have level 3. Instead of doing a super, you can cash it out to get your drive back. That's kind of interesting. I don't know how that would
like
work.
Jamie. Like
kind of, yeah. You just sacrifice all your meter. It has to be like level 3 or something, and you get your drive back, but at the cost of your damage. I don't know. I'm just thinking.
I'm making a joke. I actually think that's a decent idea. But then you make Jamie even worse. Because now everybody can do it. The only good thing about Jamie, which is manages his drive well.
That's fair, man.
I don't know. That makes me think about potential maybe EX reversal type of things, like EX drive reversals. And maybe spend some of that meter having a safer drive reversal or like an improved version of that. Like I was saying, in terms of the hitbox.
Yeah.
So think of Lily, Benny. Think of think of the low tiers. What about V reversal on Lily?
All right. I'm gonna call it now. I'm gonna call it now. We were talking about how 4 and 5, towards the end of its life, within the last year or two, they're gonna add a new mechanic, right? Mm-hmm. And I think their new mechanic is gonna be tied to that super meter. I'm gonna call it
now. Multiple supers?
That's no. I'm just saying, like what we were talking about. They're gonna add some type of mechanic to the super meter. To spend the super meter in another way, like I was just saying. I think that's going to be where the new mechanic's going to fall.
Right, because the drive system is so tightly wound, but super meter, you're like, oh, there's plenty of more stuff we can do with it. Right?
Yes. I'm calling that right now.
I don't know about you guys. I burn level 1s like nothing. I mean, I got the most.
Well, your level 1's good. You got a really good level 1.
That's what I was gonna say. It's I probably got probably the best level 1s in terms of utility and combo ender, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm still amazed that the lack of scaling on that level 1. But then I'm Dawson doesn't do real combos, so it makes sense.
Man. But yeah, ultimately, I'm still happy with the way the game is. I'm okay with waiting a year for the balances, all that stuff. I'm good. I'm still having a lot of fun. Anything that the game needs is all quality of life stuff.
Yeah.
That's where the game needs to improve for me, is quality of life stuff.
Yeah, I would agree. There was recent talk about was it from ICE about the freaking when you're just trying to invite a friend. Why is it I go to my friends list and my list is just a complete mess?
I know. I'm like,
I can't filter it.
I want to invite you, John, and then for some reason you're at the very bottom of my friends list.
Yeah, it's in the order of it's in the order of the people you invited. I think 5 was like that too, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then
5 was way worse.
But then you go into CFN. You go to your friends list on CFN, and then they have everyone that's online at the top of the list. I'm like, huh?
Well, so if you hit the V button, the V key on your keyboard, you can change the sort on that list when you're inviting friends. But the problem is that button, the V, is bound to right stick, and we don't have that on most arcade sticks, so we don't actually get away with that as easily.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
I had that binded on mine, but I never thought of looking at it.
I swear I've never seen that.
I just look at the list and I'm like, yeah, it's just the
well, it's because the tooltip is a little joystick, so it makes you think, oh, I have to move up, down, left, or right. But in reality, you have to click the stick in, which we don't have.
Oh,
so, you're not going to be able to see it. I get it.
You know what else they need to change? I know we're running a little time, but I want to bring this up. Is they need to fix MR. MR still has some issues. I like the system, right?
Okay.
But now with the introduction of Legend and how you get Legend rank in real time, right? You can lose it and all that stuff by, you can have it one day and then log in the next day and lose it because people ranked up, right? Leveled up their points, right? Here's the problem. Here's the problem with that now. It wasn't a problem before, but now this is a problem, is that there is no point deterioration. So I could so you have guys like Punk and F Champ and all that to get 6-7 characters on 6 different accounts, up to 2,000 MR, and then they never touch the account again. And it just sits there, taking up spots, and it doesn't deteriorate, even though they're not using it. There needs to be rank deterioration when it comes to Legend rank.
I mean, is it people are constantly climbing anyway, though?
No. So I'm saying you could get, say, I'm gonna go get Ken to 2100 MR, right?
Mhm.
I'm gonna get him I'm gonna get him the top 3 on the leaderboards, right? And then for the rest of the season, I'm not gonna play him. I will never lose points because I'm not playing him.
Sure.
So
But
then
that-
he just it's just taking up a slot. It
I
makes
get
it less
that, but
competitive.
as the season goes on, though, 2100 becomes less and less. Like eventually, the threshold for masters or for
I understand
legend is
that.
going to be like
I get
2400
it,
or something, right?
but
So it's a
I get it.
passive deterioration.
But I don't think I don't think it's the right way. I think it needs to deteriorate MR if you haven't been using the character enough, because that's how elo ratings should be working. There should be rank deterioration.
I think it's a function of time, fundamentally, and how you handle that time. If you want everyone's numbers to grow bigger, I think in general it's more pleasing for the numbers to get bigger than for you to slowly lose it and feel pressured
I get it.
and stressed out to lose it over time.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying. I'm not saying like if you don't play for like 2 days, you start losing points. I mean, if you don't touch that character for like a month,
that's the time part I'm talking about. Is
Yeah,
that where
okay.
you draw that line, right?
Yeah.
But I can follow that. Like I think other games do like a form of deterioration, right? Like
we do that on
mobile games do that
Fightcade.
too.
We do it on Fightcade.
Okay.
I haven't been on Fightcade in months, so I'm sure all my games are down to like C rank, which would mean if I go online, people will play me.
Oh yeah. Also, how much does that issue matter when a reset happens every 3 months? Like, how do you feel about the resets in general?
You know what? I was feeling it like, man, you work so hard to get all those points out there, and it's just like once it resets, you're like, do I really want to bother again?
Yeah.
So that's the example of the number going down, making you feel bad, right? And feeling pressured to play.
Yeah,
or
but then
lack thereof, rather.
Yeah, but then if you never reset it, then those points just get up to something impossible,
Yeah.
Because the top players are so damn good, and they're so able to play so freaking consistent.
Yeah.
I think no resets, deterioration works. With resets, I think deterioration. I think the resets solve the deteroration problem.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I like the idea of the resets. I mean, it makes that initial climb super hard because, like, once phase 2 started, I started getting matched up with all kinds of players, and I'm like, man, I've never played you ever. And I'm just like, the last phase you were up in like the 1900s, and it's like I get to play you at whatever 1530, and just like they gotta work themselves back up.
My big thing is right now is I just want to have better ways to play others, people I don't even know that I just want to be able to run into some people that isn't tied to my ranked region. Like I want to be able to say like we could go on the battle hub and like I could go into a North American server, pull up the player list, see ranks, teleport to that player and play his ass. But you can't do stuff like that. Just make it random.
There's a badge that shows up when there are people of equal skill level to you, but
is there?
Yeah, there's a little green thing, but it's like I don't know how.
I thought that was tied to like your friends list and all that.
It's orange. If it's orange, it says that they're of similar skill level, and I think you can sort the list by it and then fast travel to them. But it's the same problem as the menu sorting thing we were talking about earlier. It's the features are there, but the UI sucks ass, so nobody ever can use it.
Because like when you enter one of those online tournaments, you enter the tournament and you can bring out the list of the people in the tournament. You can see all their ranks.
Yeah.
You can't.
You can't do that.
I would like to have that. I would love to have that. I would love to have that because there are some great players that are lurking in Battle Hub while also waiting for a rank match. Just because you go into player matches, there's no lobbies. There's just no lobbies. No one plays that way, and I just want to play some random people, without having to do a Discord or something like that. I would love to just run into random players and just play them first to 10, first to infinity, whatever the case may be, and I don't know. I think there just needs to be more ways.
I had a set with Defeatly actually like that. I just ran into him at the Battle Hub. I was trying to get my dailies done, and I was like, "Oh shit, it's Defeatly!" And then we ended up playing like 5 matches or something, and then and that was cool. So the Battle Hub I think could be the avenue there. It's just make the UI better so that way you can find that situation happens more often.
Yeah. So the only option I could do right now, and it's going to depend on how laggy it is is I would need to log into like a VPN or something to get to another part of the country so I can start getting linked up with them and ranked.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about that stuff? Yeah. Well, so you brought up earlier. Well, I don't know how much longer we're gonna keep.
Yeah. Well, see, now, like, it makes me think, like, yeah, because when you bring up the server list, right, you can see certain things, right? Like, you can see your friends in there. You can see people that are blocked. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed that. Like, if you blocked people, like, they'll show you what server that they're in that server. So,
Oh,
like, I don't know if
that's cool.
I don't know if that would
Oh yeah,
deter
there's an
people.
icon when you look at the servers. It'll
Mhm.
put an icon if there's someone on your friends list in there or something.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I mean, I would love to see, like, just like Scott said, like the tournament list, right? Like if I bring up the server list, give me a list of everybody that's in there and their rank and their LP or their MR. Like, I don't think that that would be super hard to implement. I mean, it might deter some people from joining certain servers, and it might incentivize people to join certain servers. Because if I look at NA3 and I see a bunch of master rank players that are in like the 1600s or higher, I'll be like, I want to play those guys, right? Because right now it's a crapshoot. Like, I mean, we were talking in the Discord, and somebody was talking about, yeah, you can look up their rank before you play them, but what do you got to do? You got to click on them, then you got to go to their profile, and then you can see it. And I'm just like, that's too many steps that I want to take. Like you said, like the information's there, but it's not readily accessible, and the UI sucks for that. Like if I go up to the
Yep.
cab, like just show me right there. Are they master rank? How much LP do they have? Or, how much MR do they have? Whatever, and then I'll make a decision right there. Because right now, like I'm just sitting at a cab and I'm like,
Mhm.
trying to determine. Like, it doesn't even show me like when we're playing, like in the actual match. It won't show the ranks like like you're in a ranked match. You see their status in the battle hub. It doesn't show that at all.
It's a tough one though. Like from the dev perspective, it's like, do you really want to split your user base? Like
Yeah,
finding more ways for people to isolate themselves. Uh,
yeah,
I feel like the battle hub is
Yeah.
specifically
Yeah.
designed to make sure that you can play anybody and everybody, and that there's no, top player suite that you have to
Yeah,
yeah,
buy
because
your way into.
if they start seeing the rank, then a lot of players are going to avoid you. It's the same
Yeah.
thing as Fightcade.
yeah. Oh,
Now for
that's yeah.
Wi-Fi indicators, I will do that for Wi-Fi. We should
Yes,
Oh,
segment out that
yes.
that portion of the
At
community.
least we can see it, though. At least we can
Yeah.
see
yeah,
them.
yeah. I definitely avoid those. I mean, honestly, like the only
Actually, I
people like
don't.
I stopped. I used to block people that would one and done me, but then my block list got full. I didn't even know that that was a thing.
Yep.
And
That's like that five also.
the only people I block now are like Dulcimeres, and I thought it was kind of funny because like um one of the head guys in the Dulcim Discord, I didn't even know that that was his name, but we ended up getting matched up with each other. And then he tagged me and he's like, "Oh, GG's the mirrors, just wacky or whatever." And I was like, "Oh, that was you?" And then I was just like, "Yeah." And then I was telling him, I was like, "Yeah, I normally just block the sims that I run into."
Dude, I blocked your ass,
And
scrub.
a lot of there was a few people in there that was like, I never thought about doing that. And I was like, well, I don't really like learn too much playing another sim. It's just like
It's
I know what
true.
the I know what the character is capable of. And personally, I think that mirror is just really kind of stupid when
You're
people
rare.
start
It's rare you're ever going to run
teleporting.
into a dolls a mirror. It's very rare. But like
Yeah.
for like someone like John or especially me, there's a lot of DJs out there, so I do have to learn that matchup.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I
I
have
don't
yet
know.
to
It's
run
just
into
like
a Chun-Li player that knows how to fight the mirror. I would not advocate blocking mirror matches, because like that's just another matchup you have to learn. I
yeah.
get it.
but
It's a
I
weird
get
one,
it. I
but
get it, but I also get that what's the odds of two Sims running into each other in a tournament?
two
Yeah.
Sims, I think that's fair. But
Probably
I
the
don't
least
know, man.
likely.
Like I've had the most. I learn the most when I'm playing a mirror match, because they often show me shit about my character that I
Sure. Oh yeah,
freaking
sure,
do.
Oh
sure,
yeah,
sure.
yeah. Yeah, I did. I mean, I do learn stuff too. Like, but I mean, at the same time, it's just like I don't know. I
That's
just
such an annoying matchup. I used to hate
Uh,
playing when I used to play Alpha 3 a lot. I would hate Cody mirror matches because we're just dodging everything and like nothing can hit each like we just couldn't hit each other. We're just dodging everything. It was just a really bizarre match. It
Isn't
was
that isn't
so
that
annoying.
is that not how your DJ matches are? Like everybody's just swaying back and forth in neutral. Like,
Yeah,
come
we're
on, hit
doing
a button.
swings. Yeah. Lots of like, oh, am I gonna double fireball or is he gonna EX or OD fireball? I'm like, oh fuck. It's a pretty annoying mirror match.
Yeah.
in Marvel 3, I had the most fun in Zero Mirrors,
Oh
because
Jesus.
Well, the character could do anything and everything. And
Yeah,
so,
you're zipping around. You guys are zipping through each other.
well, so because of that though, like there wasn't any like ever stalemate stuff, like dodging or whatever. Like because the more complicated the character's moveset is, the more options there are that can happen in the match, right? And so
Yeah.
like versus like, hey, I have two Hondas that are gonna headbutt each other, and that's the match, right? so like I like when I play a complicated character, mirror matches are really really fun because you get to like you can play the same character two different ways and still have a viable competitive match versus he's gonna rush punch me. I better rush punch him before he rush punches me.
Yeah.
Or like who's going to land Helmbreaker first with Virgil?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I agree.
It's funny you bring up the Honda thing because, like, yeah, that happened all the time. It was like round start is like, are we holding down back or did we headbutt simultaneously?
That's the CVS. That's the CVS2 classic right there.
Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah.
That's another game where it's like, oh, that game wasn't for me. It has roll canceling in it. I've heard people say that.
I'd be one of them.
Yeah.
I'd be one.
Like I said, I give credit to the people that are stepping away and not trashing the game at the same time. Like I got more respect for people that are doing that and just be like, you know what, I don't have fun playing this, and that's perfectly fine. Like, nothing wrong with that at all. But you don't have to like trash.
Fuck that game. Play this instead. Yeah, I hate that. I don't like that. Just don't like that.
Yeah, that's the other side. Is that if you don't like the game, but other people do, let them like it. Like
Let
you
them
don't
like
have to
it.
be the guy that keeps them from liking it, unless their
You don't have
opinion
to
is
like
really
shitty. Yeah, find some new friends because like that's people's fallback too. Well, all my friends are playing this. Is like okay, it's like you're part of the fighting game community. There's a ton of other games to play. You can find another community for the game that you like or that you prefer. There's no shortage of that. So it's just like branch out, find some new friends, right? Just because John loves Street Fighter or whatever, that doesn't, I don't have to be like, I got to do what John does because we're friends. No, let me go find, we'll get paid and I'll go play Tekken with him because I prefer that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no, there's a lot of people that like I've lost touch with throughout the years because yeah, no, I think about it. Your response is like, you don't like the game? Well, how much do you like your friends? Never mind. I had this sob soapbox story. I'm gonna end my podcast with a joke, or my side of the podcast with a joke. I'm done. How much do you like your friends?
Not very much.
Do you like your friends more than you hate Street Fighter 6?
that brings up a whole other thing when it came to like first person shooters and stuff because like I literally quit mid game playing with some of my friends and like I've mentioned that before and like I got tired of playing the games. Like I wasn't having fun. It was just like we were kind of doing the same shit over and over and I'm just like we were playing mid match and I was like, you know what guys, I'm just done. And I like logged off and they're just like, what happened? I was just like, I don't feel like playing shooters no more. And I didn't touch a first person shooter for like, I don't know, 8 months, a year. I was busy playing like NES Tetris and random Street Fighter with you. I think that was towards the time of the when I was playing Ed. No, when I was playing Ed.
Okay.
I think it was around that time when I was kind of just trying to find my way and I was just like, I don't want to play at this game. I want to play other stuff. I'll play Slay the Spire, I'll play other things. And it's just like and like it's funny that you say how much do you like your friends because like anytime like I'd go back and like play something with them, it was just like, man, the whole friend group kind of fell apart. And I'm just like, don't put that on me.
Like that.
don't put that on me. Like, you guys, like, I might have been the glue, I guess, but, don't put that on me. So,
like I've had some friends that like a good example is I had a lot of Marvel friends and then I started playing Street Fighter and they didn't take to Street Fighter 5, just like a lot of people didn't. And so I lost touch with them, but I've recently started reconnecting with them. And it forces you to get creative because you have to find new ways to new other things in common with them besides.
You're right. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Right. Because some people you're just friends. I mean, I'm not trying to say it's negative, but you're friends sometimes with certain people just because your common bond is that one game, and your friendship doesn't really expand beyond that.
Yeah.
And I've always felt that. Like I stopped playing a certain game, I just don't really hang with those people anymore, just because we didn't really have much outside of that game.
Yeah.
You know,
Or
like I stopped playing 5, but I still talked and hung out with you guys. You know.
Yeah.
So like, obviously, it expands beyond that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Like the alternative is to. What was I trying to say? I forget my point.
Anyway, the point is, make new friends. No.
That's the opposite point I wanted to make. Make it work with your friends. Try your best. And the worst. Oh, right. I remember my point. If anything, if you don't agree with them on something, it's good to keep them around so you keep yourself from being in an echo chamber all the time. Like I have friends that I disagree with.
Yes,
a lot of different
have
things.
diverse friends. Yes,
Right. And so even if we don't like the same game anymore, then that at least makes for a good conversation, and then you can
differing opinions is always good.
Right.
Yeah.
That was my point. Sorry.
Yes.
I was like, there's got to be a good message here.
Agreed. That's a good life lesson.
Yeah, that's true.
Disagree, and we can still be friends. You know, empathy at the end of the day, right?
Do you have any friends you want to shout out with on your way out here, Scott?
Any friends? No, I have none.
He's got to make new ones.
They all hate Street Fighter 6.
Most of the people I know love Street Fighter 6 right now, you know?
Agree.
So, yeah, man. I fucking love this game.
We have to.
I would be playing if I wasn't
out there. So shout out to 6 then, it sounds like.
Yeah, man. I think it's great. Great. You know, the only thing I need to get changed is your guys' comments on top 5 from 2 podcasts ago. I'm going to have to get your opinions to change on that one.
Oh, yeah. Do you think you're top 5?
I don't know. It's hard to say.
Oh, okay.
but it's a motivation for me to make it a definitive.
I have an internal tier list that I keep track of.
Yeah.
I've been out of it, but I know who's the best right now.
I mean, my ego, don't get me wrong, my ego wasn't hurt by it or anything, but it's like, it was something that I was like, all right, I need to strive for that then.
Yeah, I'd put you up there.
Oh, I was thinking like the character top 5. You're talking about like the AZ top 5.
Yeah. When you guys are talking to Thrasher, when you guys were thinking of who your top 5 was, I was like, "Ooh, this is gonna be spicy."
It's the same. Yeah, that was the goal.
Yeah, for sure. I loved it. I was like, you know, like I was like, man, I'm not getting mentioned anywhere until like John brought me up. I'm like, damn.
You gotta get.
I was like, all right, I gotta. Well, that means that just tells me I gotta work a little more.
Yeah. See, that's the mentality that you should have. Like that was my thing.
I'm not entitled to it. I'm not entitled to it.
Exactly. That's how I felt, man. That just makes you think about like the Abe and the B League stuff. Like there were people that were like butthurt about not being included, and I'm like, I sat there and I was just like, okay, he doesn't look at me this way. That's fine. I was like, I'm gonna make him look at me this way.
Yeah, there you go.
And that just means I gotta be better, and that's how I looked at it.
I think the scene is healthy in the same way that the Street Fighter 6's tier list is currently healthy, and that there are 10 characters in top 5. I genuinely think that in our scene right now, there's a big rotating thing where like I can beat certain people, and then they can beat, and those people can beat other people that I can.
And you know what? Like that list is even bigger if you count the people that would actually freaking come out.
Oh yeah.
Ikeda and Moss.
Well, not even that. There's a couple people that showed up to our first few tournaments that were good, and they haven't showed up since.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, like I don't know if you guys saw what I was mentioning in the Discord, but there's a free tournament that's happening this Saturday in Gilbert, and I was looking at the registration list, and there's a player in there, Air Jordan 43. I think I even mentioned them in a couple episodes ago as like somebody I ran into. They're a Blanca player, and they're actually legend status right now. And I was looking, I was just kind of looking through Twitter and stuff, and saw that they're from SoCal, but they're registered for the tournament here in Gilbert. So I'm curious, like did they move here? Like, do we have another
interesting,
really good player that just moved here, from SoCal, or are they visiting? Like, how did they even find out about that? So
they could be visiting. It is
Thanksgiving.
Oh
yeah, that's
weekend.
True. Yeah, that's true. Oh, maybe that's why. So I don't know if whoever goes out to that tournament at this Saturday in Gilbert. I'm not planning to. I mean, I have to look at the details, but
that will not be me.
If you do,
really selling it.
I can't do. I mean, it's just Thanksgiving weekend. It's too tough.
I believe it. Yeah.
So, but I mean, it is a free tourney to enter. So it's just like if you got free time and you can go enter it in Gilbert, touch base with
Oh,
that guy and see see what the deal is.
Speaking of which, and John, I hope you go. Benny, if you can.
Hmm?
I do plan on going to the next Tucson tournament,
Oh, cool.
which
Yeah, that'd be
John
cool.
said January.
Yeah.
Oh, if it's in January, I could probably do it because then our time off stuff resets. So I could probably squeeze that in, especially since I'm gonna have Thursday,
I'll take an
Fridays off
I
now.
told him I'll take an RTO because you know what, I was a little salty that they got top 2 and I didn't get a chance to play John in the tournament.
Yeah.
It was funny too because John was talking to me. We were talking about. I was like, man, it's like I don't think I've ever beat you yet. I'm like, really? Like even though I always felt like our matches are close, but I'm like, damn, he got top 2, and I'm like, I didn't even get a chance to fight him.
Yeah, I think
like
if it's in January, yeah, then we can definitely plan for that because I've been wanting to go down to Tucson and then
I would
my
love
days
to go.
off
I
are
would love to
gonna
go.
my days
I would
off
love
are
to
gonna
go.
change to Thursday, Friday in 2 weeks.
We need to try to get a
extended
huge
weekend.
crew.
Yeah,
Try to get a huge crew to go up.
I think
I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I think we could do that in January for sure.
I've been to a couple of the police station tournaments, both for 5 and 6, and they always do a great job. Like it's the most grassroots you can get as far as like being in touch with the community. Like even TGZ doesn't feel as grassroots as much.
And you're safe.
Well,
you're safe.
depending on what color your skin is, yeah.
Oh no!
I went there.
Come on,
Politics, ending the show. This has been the Absolute Guard Podcast, episode 63 with Jon, Benny, and Scott. You can find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Spiral Series, YouTube at youtube.com/Spiral Series, and on Apple Podcasts and Spotify under Absolute Guard. Have a good night, everybody.
Woo!
Later, guys.
Spicy.